Hi there. I'm currently working on a video about the flotator for Minecraft's 2024 April Fool's snapshot, but editing is taking a bit longer than expected, so in the meantime, I created a poll in my Discord server on whether I should focus on that modern video or create another video that might hold your interest. So, surprisingly, we got the most votes for using an AI tool such as Claude to develop a new mod for Minecraft, so that's what we're going to do today. As for our tools, we're using Java 25 via Eclipse Adoptium, IntelliJ IDEA, Claude Pro subscription at $20 per month, and the latest snapshot of Minecraft via Fabric's template mod generator. Once we have our development environment set up and open in IntelliJ, you might be tempted to go straight to the terminal and ask Claude to get to work, but you'll quickly run into the issues where Claude thinks it knows what it's doing, but it doesn't have any way to verify. It might try to use code from older versions of Minecraft or outdated mod loader APIs, and we can avoid this issue entirely. In our environment, we have our Gradle tasks on the right side after we click this little elephant icon. We can use any of these gen sources tasks for the next part, but I'm recommending vine flower based on a previous recommendation. Once we run this task, we can search for any class from Minecraft such as Minecraft itself and open that file. Give it a moment to load, and we'll see that in the tab, the name changes to Minecraft.java instead. We'll control click on the package, which takes us to that location in our Project Explorer. From here, we can right click on the jar and open that in our Explorer or file browser. You can open this jar with a tool such as WinRAR or 7-zip, or just extract it directly to view its contents. We're going to extract the contents to a new directory, rename it, and copy paste it into our project. As a quick disclaimer, this video is not a programming or modding tutorial. You may learn some things along the way, but the focus here is on using a tool such as Claude or another agentic AI to assist in developing a mod. You should still learn how to program, how to think with algorithms, and the big picture of how AI works under the hood. This video is sponsored by Brilliant, and they have a course specifically on that topic, how AI works, which has helped me not only understand using the tools of our new digital age, but also how to better prompt and give context for better results. You might have tried LLMs before and found yourself deep in hallucinations or being affirmed when there's data available to prove something otherwise. Take some time with Brilliant to not just learn about AI, but also dive into other topics to become a greater mathematician, scientific thinker, or data analyst than you are today. There are tons of courses available with dozens of lessons and even more interactive exercises for specific topics across science, AI, logic, math, and more. They even have a course on thinking in Python, the programming language, and Brilliant's courses are crafted by world-class teachers from MIT, Harvard, and Stanford to give you a valuable learning experience. To learn for free on Brilliant for a full 30 days, go to brilliant.org/Jason13, scan the QR code on screen, or click the link in the description. Brilliant's also given our viewers 20% off of an annual premium subscription, which gives you unlimited daily access to everything on Brilliant. Thank you again to Brilliant for sponsoring this video. I'll have the documentation linked for how to install Claude and actually use it, and the quick start guide. Please read through it, but something you really want to read as well is this best practices. This is the cornerstone of everything we're going to do. We need to give Claude a way to verify its work. So we decompiled Minecraft and we put it in its own directory, and Claude will be able to reference and read that directory, all the files in that, to understand how Minecraft actually works and what's actually happening in Minecraft's code. So I'm going to show you what it looks like with and without verifying its work, okay? So in this one, this was about 4 days ago I was testing. I'll go all the way up so you can see my original prompt. I said, please add a new sword that sets enemies on fire when they get hit. Make it look like a netherite sword. So I do have this MC decompilation here, but I didn't tell Claude about that folder, so it didn't know to read that. It just saw this as a basic Java project, and it saw that I was using Fabric. We can look through the files it added, which were fire sword item and a modified example mod, which is the mod entry point. So everything here is fine. There's no compilation errors here. But if we go to example mod, and I close this down, we see it has some imports that aren't valid. So that's item group events from this API version 1. And we see item group events here, modify entries event, and this isn't working. Now I'm going to go back in this other one, and we'll go back to the prompt that I gave it at the very beginning. I'm creating a mod for Minecraft using Fabric. The source code of the mod is in this directory, which includes this file here. And I have a decompilation of the current version of Minecraft in at this folder. So that's pointing to this directory here. And I asked, can you help me register a basic sword that sets enemies on fire? Make it look like a netherite sword for now. Right away, no compilation errors, nothing's in red, nothing's underlined. This is all good. And we can directly run the game using run client right now, and we'll see the sword in game. Claude's not following best practices here, I will say that. We typically want to avoid static initialization, which is registering an object as soon as the class is loaded. This is fine in this instance for a very simple mod, but in the future for more complicated things, we want to avoid that, especially if you're working with Neoforge or another mod loader. I have to give myself the item because we don't have a creative mode tab set. So I now have this, and I can summon a cow, and it sets the cow on fire as expected. So the difference here is pretty much entirely in the prompt. In the original one, we kept it short and sweet, and we just asked for what we needed. In the better one, we gave a little more context and gave a reference to the decompiled code. So I'm going to start from scratch. If you wanted to close out of this terminal, I'm going to hold Control and press C a couple times, and it exits out of that, and it even tells you how to resume that specific chat. Say you had multiple chats that you did in this folder, we'll just do Claude -- resume, and we get a list of the chats that we've created here. So let's go back and let's recreate this exact same thing, take out all of the code that it made, Open this up. I'm gonna delete fire sword item and delete all the folders under here. So now we're at a bare bones mod again. Let's also remove the imports so it doesn't have any hints. And what I did was just format real quick. And I'm using GitHub Desktop in the background to track this as a repository so we can revert any changes or mistakes that Claude makes. Let's start a new session just by using the Claude command. So you can give it as much context as you would like. We use the @ symbol to reference files or specific folders. So you see as I type it, it starts giving me suggestions of what I want to use. Now I have MC decompilation specifically in my jitignore file, so it's not going to show up in the suggestions. We can still type it out though, and it'll work just fine. So we're giving it the exact same prompt essentially. I have the latest version of Minecraft decompiled in this folder, add a new sword that sets enemies on fire, make it look like a netherite sword for now. Now, if you remember, this MC decompilation folder only contains code. This doesn't contain any of the original data files that Minecraft has. So if you want to get that specifically, you can do the exact same thing we did earlier. You're gonna look up Minecraft, go to wherever it's at, control click, go to the package, find it in here, open this, go to open in Explorer. Earlier we copied the jar that said sources at the end, which I have not generated for this example project just yet. But if we open this one specifically, this is the entire game originally. So this also includes assets and data here. Just to be safe, now in MC decompilation, I have the assets, the decompiled com Mojang Blaze 3D thing, and the data folder, and the actual decompiled Minecraft code. We're giving Claude more to reference. Hopefully it should give us a better quality mod in the end. So we're going to press enter on this prompt. Here it wants to list the contents of these folders. So that's source main Java, source main resources, and to read the gradle.properties file. So we'll press yes. And you can press shift and tab to auto accept all edits. If you have a version control system in place and you're tracking your project with that, then go ahead and accept all edits and you can just revert whenever. Keep in mind that when you do revert, Claude hasn't read those files again. It may try to make edits that don't line up with the actual contents of the file. Even though I had accept edits on, it's still going to ask me for dash command specifically if I want to give it permission. So I'm fine with that. You could do yes and don't ask again. And that would create a new folder if this didn't exist before with this file and saying that those commands are allowed. This is just to introduce you to the concept of using this. So you can press Ctrl O and expand some of this output if you want to and see what it's actually doing. It was looking for specifically a class that had sword item included in that. Sword item does not exist in this latest version of Minecraft. Sword items actually occur as a result of item properties. We're looking for the properties class inside of the item class. So properties in item, there we go. So properties exist within item. And if we just start searching for sword, we see item.properties sword. And this happens from tool material.apply sword properties. So if we look for the items class, we just look for all swords, we can see it's just registering a basic item with register item, uses a generic item constructor. As the item properties are created, there's a .sword method that adds those properties specifically, which we just saw. I'm going to do yes and allow access to example mod and similar commands. For ls specifically, I have no worries with that here. So why are we looking for fire resistance? I don't know, but I'm just going to say yeah, sure, go for it, bud. I have to say, this is something so extremely trivial that you could add this on your own within 10 minutes, 20 minutes of just learning how to mod. This is not something that you should be using Claude for, something so basic and so simple, especially if you want to do more advanced things. Like I said, you should learn how to code so that you know how to do some of the basics and you can use Claude to get the grunt work done and then go into the more interesting stuff yourself. So now we're actually editing files, creating new files. If I click this again, it should update, or I could probably reload this. Reload from disk, and we see those files here. Yeah, so new item, so new fire sword item class, new mod items class. I'm gonna save key findings to memory. So Claude sometimes will give you a summary of what it did. It won't always. If you want to, you could do like explain like I'm 5, whatever you just did. Otherwise, just try and read through the changes yourself. If you're using GitHub Desktop or some other visual version control system, you can just look at the changes that it made. So we see a new class here, new class, new file, new file. So after an enemy is hurt, and we check that we are not on the client, so we are on the server, then we ignite the target, so that makes sense. In mod items, we are using static initialization, which is not good. We've been over that before. Not a huge deal right now. We can go back to that later if you want to dive deeper into Java later. We see item group events so that we are adding our item to a creative mode tab, so that's great. We are describing the model that we're using in the items folder with fire_sword.json. This looks good to me. I don't remember the type thing. That might be new in the latest versions. And then we have a translation for that, item.examplemod.fire_sword, fire sword. So that's good. We can do run client ourselves, or we could tell Claude to do run client, but that's just a waste of context. So we're gonna do run client. Then we go to our little elephant friend, under the tasks, fabric, run client, and we see this illegal import again. This thing does not work. This is not valid. So what's going on here? We gave Minecraft's code to Claude, but not Fabric's code for this version. So Fabric loads by jar and jarring all of these jars. So to decompile it is not essentially a straightforward task because you decompile this jar and then decompile every single jar within that. One thing to note though is that Fabric is on GitHub. You can just download the source code from here and then give that as context. I'm going to download the zip of the Fabric API repository for 26.1. I'm going to save my zip to the mod folder. So we have this downloaded. We can go open this. We're going to extract it to its own folder, delete the zip. So now we have this new folder. I'm going to rename this to Fabric Decompilation. Might want to add that to your jitignore as well. So we tried to use run client and this failed on decompilation, and we could just copy and paste this entire thing. And I did say earlier that telling Claude to run the client was a waste of context, but in this case, when things are failing, well, now that we validated that things are failing, we can probably just tell Claude to run it and see what happens. And we also want to give it context that we're providing a new folder for the Fabric decompilation as well. So we're going to tell it to run this command. We're going to use our Gradle wrapper and tell it to do run client. We're going to tell it to check against that Fabric decompilation folder to read the code for the actual API instead of just guessing. So I'm telling Claude to run the client, check against the decompiled code for Fabric's API, and then fix the error. Make sure you read what Claude is doing, only accept if you're okay with what it's doing. So it tells us as it's thinking, it understands that the item group v1 package doesn't exist, so it's going to find the correct one in the Fabric API decompilation. So now it's found out that the correct package is this one with creative mode tab events, and it's going to fix our file. Now we run the client again with the Gradle wrapper, and it's going to read the output. So you could have pressed no, or told it to do something else, or just told Claude that you would tell it if it worked or not. In this case, you know, I'm feeling kind of lazy. We're vibe coding here. So I'm just going to sit back and let Claude do its thing. So we get to the main menu. Everything's good. If you wanted to try and play the game, that's totally fine. That was on an older version. But really, we just want to cancel and quit the game as normal so that it has standard output. So build successful and the client ran without errors. The fix was straightforward, correct, blah, 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 blah. And you see here, instead of item group events, we have creative mode tab events. So now we gave context to Claude that the game works totally fine. We could have played the game and exited, but I like to ensure that we just give it a quick response, basically. So single player, new world, it should be added to the creative tab at the very end. We have our fire sword. We can do summon cow, and the sword sets the cow on fire. So everything's good. Before we get into part 2, let's do a brief talk on context. So providing context in your prompts is extremely important, so is providing rich content. This is all in best practices, configuring your environment, writing a claude.md file. So when you start a new session, it's not going to remember anything that you did in previous sessions unless you're somehow telling it to write a history of what it's done into its own file and you tell Claude to read that back. I already touched on this. If you do claude -- resume, you get options to resume the different conversations you've had in this directory. Doing that is great and getting the history of the previous things you've done, but you also want to know how to start fresh so you don't have to do this every time. You could create your own system prompts or do the claude.md files that load every session. Another thing to look at is the compact command. This command is built into Claude as it's running in the CLI. So what this does is quite literally compacts the conversation, and you can add text after it to give it a specific focus if you wanted to. Now, this is really important in much larger projects. For what we have so far, it's not extremely important at all. We're going to start part 2 by writing a little bit of our own claude.md file. So you can reference this, but I'm going to keep it pretty short. Doing a new file, claude.md. We're going to add references. So all I did was add references for Minecraft, and I'm adding MC decompilation and the Fabric mod loader API, and I'm adding Fabric decompilation there. Let's also talk about good and bad prompts. Okay, you don't want to ask for everything under the sun in a single prompt. Like what I have here. Add a new suite of weapons, more spears, more swords and bows and arrows and shields and armor, everything. This is a terrible prompt. This is a very bad prompt. We want to focus on a specific task. So in the very beginning, we just did a sword by itself, so it was able to do that pretty easily. That makes sense, and we could have probably done that simple task pretty efficiently as well. So let's do a task that is a bit broader in scope, but is very straightforward in a sense. We're going to add a new set of armor made out of copper, or we'll make it out of amethyst. We're going to add a new set of armor made out of amethyst. So we want a helmet, a chest plate, leggings, and boots. We're doing a lot of sidetracking here, but I want to show you these things because some of this is actually new to me. Like right now, the memories, I didn't know about those beforehand, but what we're looking at right here is I asked Claude, what context do you have right now? My point for asking this was to make sure that it could read this claude.md file we were just discussing. So it has this project context, so it was able to read some of the files, I'm sure, because it loads this main directory into its memory. So it has the working directory that we're in, it has the type of project that we're doing, has the mod ID that we're using, there are some API notes, and then files created from memory. And if those memories are conflicting with something that you're currently working on, because even though this is a new conversation, it preserved those memories, you would just do /memory and go and edit those files. So it can reference the Minecraft decompilation, and it can reference the Fabric Loader API decompilation. So this is good. So I'm going to ask for a new full set of amethyst armor with similar stats to gold armor. And I'm going to say make it look like diamond armor for now, and then I can edit the textures later or do something else with the textures. So you might notice that I have plan mode on. Plan mode is different than accept all edits or just its regular thinking mode. This is extended thinking, so it's going to use more tokens, it's going to use more context, and what it's going to do is actually read a bit more, plan out a bit more, and say, okay, I noticed these different things that are already in the code. Let me see how I can compile this stuff together, make a plan, see if I need to ask questions to the user, to you, if you want to change anything about this plan, and then execute that plan. It's pretty advanced and can be useful for larger projects as well. So Claude has created a plan here, and it actually writes its plans to a folder to a specific file with a random name. So we can read over this, we can read what it found, we can read what it's referencing, so it's going to add the different JSON files, it's going to register the stuff in the code as expected. So typically I just do yes, auto accept edits. I keep my context small in general. It's very beneficial to start new conversations for things that are unrelated to previous conversations. So for this, I'm going to do yes and clear context. So when it says clear context, it's still going to keep the plan in memory, but it'll clear the things that I asked earlier, like there's no reason to keep this in memory. What context do you have right now? There's no point for that. So we press enter. Now you see it automatically changed to auto accept edits. We can press Ctrl O if we want to expand what it's thinking of. So we see here it was double checking how to use the armor material from the decompiled code. Claude is mostly done. Now it's asking to run the build command, which is totally fine. We can do yes here. And we could also press Ctrl E to explain its process of what it's doing. You could press no and go and do it yourself as well. But for now, I'm just going to press yes. So Claude chose to stop at build successful, and that's totally fine. We could ask it to run the client, but for now we're going to run the client ourselves. And while it's loading, I'm going to pull over the commit history. We see all the changes that were made. Claude created a new armor material for amethyst, registered the different items, and also added them to the creative mode tab, which is good. We have the different item files here, which are all pointing to the diamond armor models, which is what I asked for. We have the translations added. We should be able to repair the armor with amethyst as well. We load in the game and go to our creative mode tab, and we can see our amethyst armor, which looks like diamond armor for now. I'm gonna right click with each of these and equip it. We see the same stats for our armor bar, so that's good. We should be able to repair it, but we see this isn't working right now. Despite the fact that Claude missed this file, chest_armor.json, and didn't add our armor in the different tags, we also see a common error that I expect humans to make, but I would have hoped Claude would not have made this error. If we look at the original file, or one of the other armors, such as diamond, repairs_diamond_armor.json, we're going to see this really long file path, but at the end of this we see data, Minecraft, tags, item. You might not notice it right away. The issue is Claude used items with an S at the end, which was valid for older versions of Minecraft but has since been changed. So we could manually change this ourselves, but as I've said before, if you make a change, Claude might not be aware of that change unless it reads those files again. So there are some times where even if it's a simple change, you might want to just go ahead and tell Claude so you don't have to restart anything or deal with unexpected errors. So we could append to our Claude MD that our decompiled reference for Minecraft is the source of truth for any directory names. For now, I'm just going to do this simple prompt. I notice these directory names are different. Just go ahead and change that to what it is in the decompiled code. And for a little more context, I was unable to repair the armor during testing. Let's try it again. So now we should be able to repair our armor. We just don't have the experience to do it. But this is progress, so this is good. So like I said, we are missing some tags. This Minecraft tag should stay under Minecraft, but we need to include ours and do a replace false so we don't override the original values. You can reference the Minecraft wiki to read on this more. This replace is optional. So as I was writing this prompt, I also noticed data Minecraft tags item enchantable chest armor, which is separate from item chest armor. So I also want Claude to read that and then reference where that is. So I'm telling Claude, I also notice these tags exist, explain like I'm 5 where these tags are used, and add our armor to these tags with replace false to not override vanilla values. Now, I might not have had to specify this, but it's better to specify now than have to go back and fix it later. So what Claude is telling us here is that enchantable and trimmable are already included by pointing to this file. So if we look at enchantable chest armor, it points back to Minecraft chest armor, the original item tag, so you get all of these values as it says for free. Assuming that we didn't catch those tags, then we wouldn't have been able to enchant this, and we wouldn't be able to apply armor trims at a smithing table either. So it's important to test your mod frequently. Make sure you try to catch the mistakes that Claude might miss. I want to take time to thank our channel members. Thank you to everyone who is showing support for this channel. I am trying to do a large variety of content, so if you feel like I'm not going back to something that you want to see more of, then please let me know. Or if you want to see some other kind of content from me, also let me know that. I'm trying to do a lot here, and I'm also trying to improve my editing quality. which I hope you could see by the beginning of this video and the large majority of it. So thank you guys for joining. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you again to Brilliant for sponsoring this video. If you want to see some behind the scenes content, make sure to join the Discord that is linked in the description. We have some different conversations about game development, Minecraft in general, learning how to program. This is the poll that I mentioned at the beginning of the video. So if you want to join things like this and kind of help me navigate the direction of this channel, please join the Discord. That would be amazing. And thank you for watching.